So I have been passionate about food as medicine and the idea of food first and foremost with being a locavore. So I was very moved, hippie by nature or by learned environment, I don't know. But when I was 18, started really reading up on Alice Waters and this like locavore movement and what farmers markets are. Meanwhile, I had only been exposed to, I swear, 5 vegetables or 6 vegetables at that stage of my life. Very processed diet that I grew up on. And when I went to college, started working, volunteering at the co-op and getting integrated with the farmers market community, took a wrong turn into vegetarianism through that. And when I went to Bastyr University in Seattle, Washington, is when I was actually diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis based on what the vegan at that time diet had done to me, essentially. A lot of, this is like circa 2003, 2004, a lot of vital wheat gluten, which was called seitan at the time. There was a lot of like the Quoron products of like corn. I mean, talk about GMO, talk about high glyphosate before glyphosate was even being discussed, truly. And just a lot of gut disrupting compounds that I was consuming. Soy, of course, as far as a goitrogenic compound disrupting the thyroid. And I was a student clinician. Bastyr is a naturopathic college of medicine, so I was there getting my credentials. And I was a student at the same clinic that I was treating patients. And I was like, I was a patient at the same place that I was treating patients as a student clinician. And started getting acupuncture, did a bunch of labs. My ferritin, which is your marker of your iron status in the body, was a 2. It needs to be above 60 to regrow hair.
Wow.
And so it's a marker that I always recommend women to look at if they're dealing with hair loss, thyroid and ferritin, a full thyroid panel and ferritin. And I had anemia via my hemoglobin and hematocrit, so CBC was off, and had super high TPO or thyroid peroxidase value of showing Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And the clinician, the naturopath said, okay, well, here's some vegetarian iron-rich foods. And I said, but I just learned that spinach is in the ferric, not ferrous form. And so, it's not as bioavailable. And I'm sitting here, trying to make peace with this idea of being kind to the animals, but also knowing deep in myself that there are more biologically available sources of these nutrients, and that this clinician was trying to respect my dogma, my doctrine. And that's really within the constructs of how, when I started to shift to become a recovering vegan or omnivore, I came up with this mantra that I use all the time of doctrine creates disconnect. So if we get so dogma in our diet, I let myself go into chronic illness with having extremely cold appendages, significant weight gain, panic attacks that I had to pull over my car with because of that completely dumped ferritin. I had low pulse ox, low oxygenation in my blood, and all for the animal rights, and the second that I started incorporating, I went for raw egg yolks first, then oysters, then steak. And my husband always teases me that he was cooking a steak on a cast iron. He was farming at the time. And I was cramming for a biochem exam. And he says, like a cartoon character, I like hovered into the kitchen and he turned around and half of it was gone. And he's like, I guess you eat steak now. I was like, hell yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that's how I'm into it.
It's crazy, right? It's not a too dissimilar story to like what we've heard before, and people, again, your heart was in the right place. You were doing what you thought was the right thing with what you knew at the time. And what was that you said? Dogma creates doctrine?
Doctrine creates disconnect.
Disconnect. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking, I've said something similar, that your physiology outweighs your philosophy.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. And it's a similar idea, right? And it's like, I'm doing this for the animals, and in the process, I'm hurting my animal, my human body.
Yes.
And it's tragic. And it's maybe a blessing as well, because it put you here to now share and hopefully help women not make the same mistakes and learn through experience. And pain is one of our best teachers, unfortunately.
No doubt.
It quickens consciousness quite quick and puts you back on the right path. So it's a really cool backstory. All right, friends, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Radical Health Radio. We got a fresh new podcast for you every Wednesday. If you enjoyed the show, consider liking, subscribing, reviewing, and rating us on your podcast platform. It helps to spread this message of radical health. We'll see you next week.